Welcome back to Up the Villa, and this is our predicted lineup episode where we go in-depth tactically on West Ham United. What can we expect? Who do we need to watch out for? How are they going to play? And we're also going to predict the Aston Villa lineup. Villa fans, in the comment section down below, let me know your thoughts. Smash a like. Let's go big on this one. Let's go 1,000 likes and subscribe to the channel. West Ham fans, hopefully you're going to enjoy this episode as well, and subscribe and like away as well, and comment your thoughts. So, the new West Ham Lopetegui era is about to begin on Saturday. Lopetegui comes to the Premier League with a bit of pedigree about him. He's been the Real Madrid manager. He's been the Spanish manager. He's won the Europa League with Seville. As a player, he was a goalkeeper. He played for Real Madrid. He played for Barcelona, albeit for a few appearances. But the name Lopetegui does bring a little bit of substance to the league, and I like it. I think he's a really good coach. He's a really good manager, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see how he develops and how he grows into this West Ham side and how tactically they can evolve. I do think there's a bit of pressure on it. They've spent a lot of money. They've backed him. And if I look at his career to date, I think it's up and down. I think it's up and down for one main reason, and that is the longevity. And I think as a manager, to have longevity as a manager enables you to grow. It enables you to plan. It enables the board, the directors, the transfer gurus. I know it's Tim at West Ham. It enables them to forward plan and give them the confidence that in 2 years' time, the recruitment policy, with your manager still being there, is going to enable it all to grow. And I think that's so important in football. And I think it's so important for teams that have a manager that is in and around the club for a number of years. It gives them that confidence and that enables them to be calm in their decision-making. So I think Lopetegui could bring that, but I think if I look at some of his numbers of where he's been as a manager, and we you look at, say, Porto, 55 days he was there, 78 matches. He'd got points per game of 2.24. That's where he really started out as a full-time proper manager. He'd been in and around the under-20s, under-19s, under-21s at a Spanish youth level, which is fine. So, he's been schooled on that brand of football. From Porto, then went to Spain, where he was there for around 2 years. So early on there, we've been in and around places for quite a long time, really. Spain manager for 2 years. 20 games that he managed there. He's got points per game of 2.40. Then Real Madrid come calling. So obviously, he's probably always going to take that role. There's no bigger role in football than Real Madrid. Lasted 120 days. So again, only 14 games, not so great. We then go to Seville, where this is where he's built his status. He's built what he is. Won the Europa League, 1,193 days. And then he moves to Wolves. So Premier League club, 267, 27 matches. And this is where I would probably say this is where I get a little bit unsure at times, because he'd got a good job at Wolves. They were in and around the relegation zone. He came in. He steadied the ship. He'd got them playing pretty good football at times. You could see the identity there, which we're going to talk about in this episode. And then the FFP, the lack of funds, and he decides to leave straight before the season. Now, for me, that does bring some alarm bells, and it tells me that he just wants cash. He wants money. He wants money to spend, and that's fine if he backs himself and he believes in his ability. But the longevity there to leave and jump ship and not really want to nurture and coach, he just wants players to come in. That would send a little bit of an alarm bell for me. But that's where I'm at with it, really. So we're now going to go straight in then, and we're going to have a look at Lopetegui's system, how is Lopetegui going to set up for West Ham? So what I've done is I've put their new signings in because this is how I expect them to look in 4, 5, 6, 10, 20 games time. So here we've got Lopetegui's system. We've got Areola, Kilman, Todibo, Emerson, Wan-Bissaka, a midfield three of Paqueta, Alvarez, Ward-Prowse, and a front three of Kudus, Füllkrug, and Bowen. It's a 4-3-3, but it's not a generic 4-3-3. It's not you stick to your positions, that's where you are, you stay there and you don't move. This system is heavily reliant on rotations and movement. So we're going to kind of start from back to front. So we'll go back to front and we'll start with the defenders and we'll move ourselves further forward on what we can expect. West Ham fans can expect a completely different style of football from David Moyes. The football, that side of things, hasn't been that great. So as we can see, the 4-3-3 starts in the generic shape. Todibo and Kilman will become ball-playing centre halves. And their role is to find into 3 different zones. The first zone will be to go out wide to Emerson. And Todibo's next pass will be to go into Alvarez. Kilman into Alvarez and Kilman into Wan-Bissaka. That is how West Ham are going to build up their play. That is how they're going to play out from the back. Those are the areas in which you can expect to see the ball going into from their defenders. Now, the next big phase of play for West Ham is if we look at the pitch at the minute, we can see that it's all broken into triangles. Lopetegui's style is all about triangles. There are triangles all over the football pitch, and these allow rotation, movement. Players can drift out of position. So I think that is something also worth noting within this Lopetegui system, that he is very, very big on triangles. The next thing that we've got are the rotations. So with the rotations, what you can expect is a player like Ward-Prowse, who's going to be playing in that midfield three. That midfield three will become quite compact. But what's going to happen is starting positions are going to start and players are going to rotate around the team and move. So what we're going to see from a rotation is you can expect to see Jarrod Bowen come more towards the touchline. Now, with him going more towards the touchline, what that's going to do is it's going to enable Ward-Prowse to run off a player and move into a different position. So we can see Bowen's starting position. He's then going to drift into this touchline area, which is then going to allow Ward-Prowse to drift into that area there. So that whole rotation on that one side of where it started to where it's going to finish is going to look something similar to this. And Lopetegui is really big on these with his system, utilising space, moving into half spaces and having those rotations. Another big player for West Ham is going to be Alvarez. Alvarez is going to be crucial in this system. Why he's going to be crucial is that if we go back to Lopetegui's time at Wolves, he had Neves. Neves, fantastic on the ball. Little bit like a playmaker, old Pirlo role, getting on the ball. You know, he's got a wonderful pass on him, Neves. He can find those balls. He can play it short. He can keep it ticking. He's a willing runner. He can sometimes get into those areas. But he was a playmaker from deep. Alvarez is slightly different profile. Alvarez is more of a defensive-minded player. He's a player that's going to break up play. He's going to sense danger. He's going to cover a lot of ground. And what he's going to do is he's going to help protect the back three. The West Ham system will look a little bit at times through the defensive side of things, like the Villa system. You'll see Emerson bombing on. So Emerson will be going into these attacking areas. Todibo will move across. Wan-Bissaka can get forward, but that's not why they've signed him. His defensive side of the game is very, very good. His 1v1 defending is absolutely brilliant. So it's going to look a little bit like that. And that's how that system is probably going to look with the midfield. If you probably look at some of the average positions after the games, that's how the defensive side of things are going to look as well. So you've got Emerson, who's going to be high, wide, getting forward, and Wan-Bissaka, who's probably going to be sitting a little bit more deeper. So we then talk about the different types of rotations, and that left-hand side for me is very, very interesting indeed. The left-hand side is very, very dangerous, and it is quite, scary to look at, really, because I think it's got options, it's got pace, it's got skill, it's got players that can pass, that can eye the needle passes, really intricate. So, we're imagining here that Emerson's getting forward. Kudus obviously isn't going to stay wide there. He's going to drift in a little bit. And what you're going to get here, just like you saw with the midfield, you're going to see all of those rotations. Those rotations, you're going to see balls into Paqueta. Then what are we going to see from here? We possibly then can see Emerson making a run into that area. You've then got a pass that can either go to Kudus, a pass that could go, into there, a little pass that can find that player into there. So this area is going to be so interesting for West Ham fans on how they play, how they transition. We know that Emerson likes to get forward, but you could also possibly see Emerson literally peeling his run and just going into that area through there as well. That's something that I think you can really look out for as well with the West Ham side. But, they've got game-changing players, Kudus, Bowen, Paqueta, really, really good. That link up with Paqueta, edge of the box sort of stuff, Kudus getting through there. But you've also got the danger as well with the two danger players that we can all say that are really dangerous. Kudus, you've got Bowen getting into those areas. Kudus coming in, cutting inside. You've got players that can switch, that can alternate, that can play on different sides as well. So it's going to be exciting for West Ham. And I think for a Villa point of view, we're really going to have to watch those rotations and make sure that we are on it and we are tracking runners. Make sure that we are looking over our shoulder at the far post, those runners that are going to be coming on our blind side as well. So I think it's going to be interesting. And I think it's going to be, like I say, an exciting game. You've then got sort of a midfield player that they've kind of got a bit of everything, really, because what they have got is a dead ball specialist as well. And with that, you've got the ability to have players that can drift to a far post, and Ward-Prowse operating in this role. It could be a little bit deeper as well, just like you've got Alvarez there. And maybe Ward-Prowse is going to complement the Lopetegui side with that Neves feel to it, because Alvarez isn't Neves, but Ward-Prowse has a bit of Neves. So what I expect are balls that can go into those channels, those little cute passes, the little passes where he can find those players, those whipped in crosses to the back post for Füllkrug. I think Ward-Prowse, again, is going to be very, very dangerous as well. So that's pretty much how they're going to play on build-up, how they're going to rotate. And that's how I expect them to sort of set up and line up. Füllkrug is an interesting one. And I'm not so sure on Füllkrug. This may come back to bite me, but I think that John Duran would have been the player that they should have gone all out and signed. One, for longevity and years, but I think Duran suits this style a lot more than what Füllkrug will. What I do rate about Füllkrug is his footballing brain. His footballing IQ is very, very good. He's dropping deep. He's finding passes, give him a chance in the box, and he's probably going to bury it. But what I think is probably going to be a sticking point, and he has got pace, is his movement. Premier League is an absolute different beast altogether. And I think Füllkrug potentially is going to be nullified a little bit in the Premier League. When Lopetegui was at Wolves, Diego Costa was their player. And he would drop deep and bring players into play. And that's fine. And I do think West Ham have got players that can really suit that style. You know, you've got, if Füllkrug drops deep, you know, he could maybe do a nice little layoff to Paqueta. And then you've got a player that can run in behind like this. And Paqueta can then find Kudus. So Füllkrug's come deep, played it to Paqueta. Kudus has ran off, or Bowen, and Kudus is free. So I think that type of style suits. But what I do think with Füllkrug is with Duran, and we know they were openly after Duran, you're getting aerial dominance, you're getting really good hold-up play, you're getting pace, power, you're getting an absolute baller who can just shoot from anywhere and score. So I think Duran would have suited this style and this team a lot better. If we go and have a little look at Füllkrug's record and have a look at some of the numbers, it's okay. You know, it's okay. He's predominantly played in Germany. I think they've paid more than what his market value is. He's 31 years of age. So if we go and have a look at his stats from last season for Dortmund, you know, heat map, you can see he's in and around the 6-yard box. He's doing that sort of dropping deep. He's played 31 games, started 29 and scored 12 goals. We've then sort of have a look at some of his other stats, and I think his passing accuracy is quite low, 67%, 77 in his own half, 63% in the opposition half. His hold-up play, successful dribbles, 31%. Aerial duels, 40% won. Ground duels, 47%. If we have a look at Diego Costa in the Lopetegui system at Wolves, he only scored 1 goal. And where I'm trying to go with this as well is that when Lopetegui was at Wolves, he struggled to get goals. Goals was a bit of a problem in the Wolves side when Lopetegui was at Wolves. And I just think striker-wise, he struggled to get the best out of Costa. Füllkrug, can he do it? Maybe he will, maybe he won't. But the goal situation for Lopetegui at Wolves were a little bit of an issue, creativity. But West Ham have got better players, and they've got players that can score goals and get unlocked. But I think what I'm trying to say with the John Duran side of things is that his game suits it a bit better for me. We've got here 61% accuracy per game, 83 in his own half. We've got successful dribbles, 40%, duels won, 45, aerial duels, 61%. So those numbers are pretty good for a 20-year-old. And I thought it would have been better for them to go with Duran, grow, nurture. So I do think West Ham are going to see a little bit of Antonio as well. I think he probably suits this system as well. So I think you'll get to see both types of players. So that is what we can expect from West Ham. There is one more thing that we can expect from West Ham. And this is something that I've spotted in pre-season. And it's the high line. So it's the high line. So we're going to get on to Villa now. And then we're going to talk about how Villa are going to set up, how Villa are going to look against West Ham, and how I feel Villa can beat West Ham and where we can cause them a lot of problems. So it's now time to pick the Villa lineup. So let's go and have a look at the Villa lineup, and then let's have a look on the tactical pad of where I think Villa can exploit West Ham. In goal, world's best, Emi Martinez. Next up, we are going to go with Luca Dean at left back. Now, I like Luca Dean at left back. I think we're going to have continuity with the back four. I think we're going to go with tried and trusted and be as solid as we possibly can. Tough game. Lopetegui's first game. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be hostile. There's going to be a lot of energy from West Ham. So it's important that Villa nullify and calm the whole situation down. Maatsen could start, but I think it's going to be Luca Dean. He'll be up against Jared Bowen. So I think I'm okay with that. Next up, we're going to go with Pau and we're going to go with Konsa. That back two there is going to give continuity. It's strong, it's solid, it complements each other. And at right back, I'm going to go with Cash. Cash is going to start for me. I think our defence is in a period where we are needing reinforcements and they are going to come. But for now, I think that's our strongest back 4 and 5. We could start Nedeljkovic, but it's a risk, but it's not a risk because I don't rate Nedeljkovic. It's a risk because it would be like putting Nedeljkovic in a war zone and sticking him in no man's land up against Kudus, Paqueta, Fulkrug, rotations. It's not the right game to put him in. It's really not the right game to put him in for me. So I'm going to go with Matty Cash. And he's going to have to defend, and he's going to have to defend well. But Premier League experience, that's what I think we're going to go with. Onana is going to start in a double pivot with Yuri Tielemans. The last 3 pre-season games, that has been the team that has played. And the one thing that I've noticed in pre-season, that unlike last season, where it was a double pivot where they're not playing on the same line, it's more of a midfield 2. And the midfield 2 gets around and covers their area a little bit more like that. So the midfield 2, it's going to be important that Onana defends well, puts himself about, breaks up play, can drive us forward. And it's important that Tielemans can get on the ball, can get his passing range going. Maybe we have to be a little bit fast and direct in this game, and he's able to find the forwards quickly. So those are the 2 that I'm going with. I am then going with Leon Bailey on that right-hand side. He's going to hug that touchline. He's going to be really creative, really expressive, keep hold of the ball for Aston Villa. And then on the left-hand side, now this is where I think we've all got decisions, Villa fans, on what we go with. And it's going to be interesting to see what you pick and what combination that you go with. For me, that is McGinn's best position in a Villa shirt. That is where I want to see McGinn. I want to see him making up that box midfield. I want to see him in midfield. I want to see him being combative. We're potentially going to be outnumbered in midfield with the West Ham 3 against our 2. But our box midfield then can potentially make up those numbers as well. I'm going with Morgan Rogers, who's going to make up that box midfield. And then we are going to start with Ollie Watkins up front. He's in the training video. He's in the training pictures. Ollie Watkins starts for me. So that's my team. That's my lineup. That's how I expect us to play. And I think it's strong. I think it's solid. And I think it's got a lot of options in there. And I think it's our strongest team that we can potentially go with right now. So if I have to now have a look at this team now and compare it against West Ham on the specific battles and where I expect the game to be won and what I think can happen in this game. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to go back to the tactical pad. Right, so here we've got now the 2 lineups together. Villa, I think we're going to be able to hit them on transition. I think we're going to be able to go a little bit more fast and direct. We saw a goal that we scored in pre-season where the Bilbao game, where it was sort of like Tielemans to Tielemans back into Rogers, who was away, and we've got Ramsey in there as well. So that quick fire attack from Villa, breaking through lines, passing through lines, finding Watkins, I think is going to be an area that we can cause joy as well. We know that the left-hand side for West Ham is going to be really heavy. So it's important that Bailey does his work and really pins down and pins back Emerson, keeps Emerson back, 1v1 battle. He can win that battle for me. Rodgers dropping into that box midfield is really, really important because as you can see on the graphic, without him, the midfield looks like it could be slightly overrun a little bit. So I think it's important that he drops in there, he helps out. We try and outnumber that midfield. And I think that is an area that I think we're going to try and look to utilise him. I think when Lopetegui's side are going to start building out from the back, we saw when we started to do, when we were early into our Unai Emery tenure, that it was a little bit edgy, it was a little bit nervy. So like what we've spoke about, when these two players are playing their possession-based game, I think we allow them to go wide. I think that's an area that I think we're going to let them do. But I think what is important is that we block off the passing to Alvarez and we block off that midfield. I think for me, it's vitally important in this game that that area of the game is won by Aston Villa. If we win that midfield battle, then I think we can win this game. And I think that is the key area for me. We see it a lot with our build-up, and we see teams now when we're building out from the back, is that what teams do is they will block off and pin in our midfield two in that double pivot. So I think it's important that we do the same to West Ham. We stop them doing it. But I think for Villa, we've got massive threats all over the pitch. Ollie Watkins is a fantastic player. He can run off their defenders. I don't expect all of those new players to play at the back as well. So I think we can run off them. We can cause them problems. I think we will be a bit direct, but I think we will be fast and direct. And I think our possession-based game will get going as well. If we look to control the game, if we look to nullify it, you'll expect to see Emi Martinez. You'll expect to see him with the ball at his feet in that area there. You'll see the same from Pau, wanting West Ham to come on to us, and then we can play those balls. You know, you'll find that Pau will get that ball there, and he'll try and find that real nice little cute pass. You know, you see it all the time there, that little pass into McGinn, that little quick one into Tielemans. And it's all about being fast, snappy, sharp. And then on transition, we turn, we're away with our runners. Big thing to note as well is that Aston Villa's bench. Our bench is stacked with quality. We're going to have Barkley, Philogene, we're going to have Ramsey. What I would like to see is 0-0, 90 plus 5, Duran winner. Happens to us all the time. Happens to us all the time. Duran, like, I haven't seen him in any of the pictures. I don't know where Duran is, but I'm just saying, Duran, it works. Football is a funny game, and these things work out like it. Right, so we've got in depth, we've gone tactical, we've had a look at West Ham of what we can expect, and we've seen what the Villa lineup will be, in my opinion, and we've seen where Villa can hurt them. So it's a stacked out episode. I love doing these ones. I want to go more in depth this season on the predicted lineup. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts. If you've enjoyed it, let me know. And yeah, we look forward to reading your comments. Villa fans, West Ham fans. Up the Villa.